I'm worried. You're worried. We're worried. Let's worry.
Hi, I'm Kevin McDermott,
And I'm Casey Grambo.
and we're performers at the CT Comedy Theater in Hartford, Connecticut. And while our physical theater is shut down due to the pandemic, we're excited to bring you our show, Little Worry, Big Worry, to you in this digital space. On each episode of Little Worry, Big Worry, we are joined by a very funny guest to talk about what we're worried about, the silly little things, and also some bigger personal fears. We talk things over, we break it all down, and hopefully we feel a little less worried at the end of each episode. And I can't wait to do this episode with my guest. No, my
How
co-host,
dare you?
Casey Grambo. Well, I'm excited to see you, and I'm excited to see my guest. I'm just getting ahead of myself, and I
It's
need
like
to
you're a
calm down.
guest. Yeah, calm down. We're going to introduce the guest in a second.
I will.
But yeah, I'm like your guest in the internet. It's okay. I like, you treat your guests with more respect than you do your co-host, don't you? You'd be yelling at me
I
in this
do.
room if we were like figuring out apps or something, but
Yep.
you'd never yell at a guest.
No, I treat guests like royalty, and I treat you basically like a piece of garbage, which
Yeah.
and you me.
I wouldn't have said that you did it to me if I didn't know for a fact that I did it to you.
Yeah. Oh, you treat me like absolute trash, and I love you for it. It's so great.
Thanks, Kevin. I love you.
Casey, speaking of things that are not trash,
Oh yeah.
last week I recommended a couple of different varieties of apples, and
Mhm.
then I dropped off a couple varieties of apples at your beautiful home,
Oh,
which I
thank you.
saw for the first time.
Yes.
What did you think of the apples?
Okay. So I've been saving them because I wanted to have the experience of eating them like right before we recorded. And not that I ate it right before, but I did eat one today. And
Yes.
I tried the envy apple. And I
Mhm.
will say, Kevin, it is as good as you described.
Oh.
Anyone who thinks that Kevin was making things up, that he's an exaggerator, you can all go to hell because this apple would send you to hell for eating this apple of knowledge. It is
Yeah.
truly amazing. Um, and honestly, I think it's my new favorite apple. I started,
Oh.
like, guessing about, like, what I'm like, "It's like a better gala apple," and then
Yeah.
Nate and I were, like, Googling it, and apparently it is a crossbreed of a gala with something else,
Okay.
and,
I didn't
um
know that fact. I think it's similar to Honeycrisp in some ways, but
mhm.
it's just got better flavor, better crisp, and oh, I'm so
It
happy
even
that you
has
liked
some
it.
earthy tones, and I'm not, like, an earthy tone person.
Okay. Okay.
There it was great. Good
Oh,
rec.
well, that makes me very happy. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I eat apples all year round, but I feel like the experience of eating a really crisp, beautiful, cold apple, spring and summer, it's one of the great delights of my life. So I'm so
Uh,
happy that you liked it.
Thanks for giving them to us. I'm gonna definitely get them next time.
And
I go to
this
store.
episode of Little Worry, Big Worry is brought to you by Envy Apple. So
Ding!
the
Made in
envy of
New
your
Zealand,
eyes.
y'all.
Is that right?
Yeah, we
In
looked it
New
up.
Zealand? Oh, shit. I just recommended it, and you are schooling me.
Well, I
Um,
wanted to be prepared. I wanted to be able to speak directly to my
oh,
experience.
that makes me so happy. I ate 3 apples today, and so I'm kind of in high season of
Wow,
apple
you're not gonna
consumption.
see a doctor for the rest of your life.
Yeah, hopefully not. Knock
Yeah,
on wood. Casey, I am so excited to see you, and I am so excited to see our guest. Should we
yeah.
bring our guest on?
Let's bring her on.
Let's do it. So joining us today is an amazing Connecticut-based improviser, comedian, and trainer. She's performed and taught improv and theater throughout Connecticut and all over New England and all over the country as well. Please welcome our guest, Jamie Guite.
Woo! Yay!
Jamie.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
Jamie.
Hello. I have to go. I'm gonna go buy my apples right now.
Good. We'll vamp for 30, 45 minutes till you get back.
You've sold it. I'll be right back.
I'm glad that you're into it. I mean, it's always feels like extra joyous when our guest is into what we're talking about. So,
I
yeah,
am.
fabulous. Jamie, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm not gonna complain. I'm still
That's
here.
good.
I guess that's my low bar. for right now. I'm here, right? That's good. That's good.
It is good. And I mean, the low bar is slowly getting dragged up by Mother Nature as, the weather gets better. Um, but I feel you.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain. It's good. The weather has been really nice. I'm trying to enjoy this period before the cicadas come.
Mm,
So,
just the screaming.
yeah, it's still it's quiet. The sun is out. It's nice. No cicadas yet. We're good.
Very few ticks as well. I think
Mm.
the tick is to me as the cicada is to you. I
Mm.
fear I fear the ticks.
And they come every year. Like
Yeah.
what's that about?
I don't know, but the last 3 or 4 summers I've had numerous ticks, and I worry. I can check myself. Casey, I know you have a dog.
Mhm.
I worry about my dog all the time with
Oh.
ticks and
We're very
bugs.
fortunate that my dog has white hair and is mostly like if you were going to describe his hairstyle, you wouldn't be like he's got hair like a dog. He's mostly like a pig. Like he's got like a little bit
Hmm.
of hair like on his belly. So you can see a lot of the ticks just by looking at him, which is like kind of crazy.
You say, look at that pig. That pig has
That
ticks.
little pig's got ticks on him. But I'm worse off with ticks than our dog is.
Yeah.
They can hide on me like no tomorrow.
Now, Jamie,
Oh,
earlier you told us you have a chinchilla at
I
home.
do.
No dog, but do have a chinchilla. Any tick problems with the chinchilla or?
So far no,
Okay,
because he doesn't really go outside.
there it is.
But I feel like I'm denying him an experience of the tick bite.
Yeah.
And so maybe I shall take him out. I don't
Everyone deserves an opportunity to get the bullseye.
at least once, right? At least once. I'll take him out. And then
I
I'll
rem-
report back.
I removed a tick from my son, and I used the burning match
Mm,
end trick. He delighted. He thought it was amazing, and I think it was the fear of like you're not going to put a burning match on me like this. I don't. It was seemed bizarre and foreign to him, and then I stuck the match right on the back of the tick, and it let go right away. And he was like, "That was unbelievable."
that was daddy magic right there.
Yeah.
Daddy magic.
So don't
Hashtag daddy
deprive
magic.
don't deprive your chinchilla of that experience. It may
No,
be
I too
equally
shall share daddy magic with him. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna bring him out.
Just light your chinchilla on fire.
He's covered in fur though. I mean, they have some of the thickest fur, so
so a lot
um
to catch on fire.
a lot to catch on fire. But when I put him out, he'll be impressed,
I'm
right?
sorry, officer. I was just trying to engage in some daddy magic. I don't know what happened.
They're like,
Eh,
please stop right now.
I don't
That's
see that
enough.
going over well, is what I'm saying. So maybe just one tick.
Oh, well, Jamie, it's awesome to see you. And we're so thrilled to have you on our show tonight. I'm going to get things kicked up. No, I'm not going to get. Jeez Louise. What is wrong with me tonight, Casey? Those 3 apples have gone to my head. You're leading us off tonight.
How dare you? How
How
dare
dare
you?
I?
The second time I've been slighted. So I'm going to start us off with a little worry, y'all.
Please
And
do.
here's my little worry. My little worry is I'm worried that I'm never going to be able to make a playlist without feeling anxiety.
I have so many questions right off the bat.
I mean, I feel like I should let you ask though.
How many playlists do you make? Like, are you playlist a week kind of person, or more than
This
that?
this is a valid question. I feel like my anxiety has stopped me from becoming a more frequent playlist maker, but
Uh,
I'm currently in the middle of choosing songs for wedding playlists. So and
Ooh.
I know everyone who's listening is like, that's enough about the wedding. We get it. But
So you're
but
just
it's
stacking anxiety on anxiety on anxiety with
yeah,
the.
that's what I'm made of. But
Jamie, where are you on playlists? What do
I
you
am a
rock?
playlist master. Because
Oh,
one, I grew up in the generation of mixtapes,
yep.
right?
okay.
So I cut my teeth on creating playlists by listening to the radio and catching the song before the announcer spoke over them. So like
Yes.
I
So then,
feel like
question
it's
for you,
just part of
Jamie:
my
Can you
makeup.
can you do a playlist that's longer than 45 minutes on one side, and then flip over for another 45?
Oh, I sure can. I
Oh,
sure
nice. You
can.
betcha.
In fact, I've gotten pretty horrible with my playlist on Spotify. Like you can set up your own, but what I've really just decided to do was the never-ending liked list.
Yep.
Mm, nice.
And so
Which is
there's
great
no
in some
concern.
ways. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
no, it's a solid mix of random, of
Jamie,
complete random.
I think, we're rough. We are the same generation, certainly. Whether we're the same age doesn't really matter. But I think the old mixtapes required such diligence. There was the process, as you entailed, of like hitting the record button at just the right time after the DJ threw the song, but also like the curation of the playlist
Mhm.
had to be really tight. And I find on Spotify it's just like a diarrhea of songs on my playlist, and I want to curate more carefully.
Well, I also think that when I first started making playlists, that they were for someone. It wasn't just like my enjoyment. And so every song had to have a meaning, but there's a
mhm.
freedom now. I mean, Casey, if you're making a wedding playlist, they just have to be okay. Because the truth is, if you have an open bar, they'll all be awesome. That's all that matters.
That's true.
And
That's
throw
very
in
true.
Copacabana because that's
Okay.
wedding perfection.
I honestly hadn't thought of Copacabana, but I think people would get a kick out of it. I am thinking about so I am next generation. So I was a burn CDs kid. And like an iTunes kind of situation.
Little
Um
LimeWire. Um,
I was so afraid. I never torrented anything because I was afraid the police were going to come get.
yeah, Metallica was gonna sue you, gonna come get you.
I was like, I don't even know if I go to this website. I was such a scaredy cat, but I I have a question about because I remember I was on the tail end of the mixtape or recording off the radio on a tape. When you guys, if let's just say, let's talk about like making a mixtape in general. Like when you were doing it, like did you have like a couple of tapes like that were in play that you'd be like, oh my god, this is a great song for this, or were you like working on one at a time? Would you have to be like doing them over a long period of time? So it sounds like this was like a huge investment in like recording a number of songs to like give to somebody. Explain how this worked because I actually don't know.
Ugh. Well, mixtapes with the radio, I for me, I recorded one at a time.
Okay.
And I caught the songs that I wanted, and those were just in the order that they appeared. When
Mhm.
I went from that to having a boombox with two cassettes, because we were fancy then I could pick and choose the order. And
Got it.
then I went to burning CDs. And at that point, then I would curate the whole list before starting it.
Yeah, and that was fun because you
Um,
got to draw. Like that I feel like was like the joy of the burnt CD quotation marks mixtape is that you could like in Sharpie like write all the songs on it and like make all of the like designs yourself, which was fun. Okay.
You ask. I mean, Jamie has highlighted perfectly the process. The intent of the tape was so specific. Um, Seventh grade, it was like peak Radnor Rolls, which was the local roller skating rink.
Yes.
Uh, like meeting girls and
Mhm.
being aware of like amorousness for the first time. So I would make mixtapes of all the songs that were most heavily rotated at Radnor Rolls, just so I knew them better, so that I could roller skate better to them, and maybe know like a few more words, or like be able to better
Oh,
impress
this
those that
is
I
so
was
charming.
trying to impress. Um, a year later, peak bar and bat mitzvah season, just
mm,
needed to know the jams. I had a
Mhm.
mixtape of all the hottest jams, and I was not a great dancer, but I was an enthusiastic dancer. So,
maybe you
yeah.
needed your roller skates for the bar and bat mitzvahs.
Damn it! I never thought of that integration.
Just
So
roller
good.
skating into a
What?
bat mitzvah that's not at a roller rink. Just
Into the Four Seasons in Philadelphia. Oh
puzzle, yeah.
yeah, Mazel Tov.
And they always say, "Leave them wanting more."
But or Jamie talked about earlier of like making a mixtape for your sweetheart. Oh, time honored. That was so
Ooh.
great.
Yeah, I think sharing music is incredibly romantic. I think I assign a lot of meaning to it, and you know, even like driving around, like when I have things playing, I'm like whatever I'm listening to, I feel like it really needs to vibe with how I'm feeling, and I want it to fit contextually with like where I'm going, who might be hearing it, like are my windows down, like it very much is like a part of like what's going on. So I really start spinning out of control as to like what the just all the context, and then I think when everything gets contextualized, then I start worrying about other people's opinions about what I'm listening to, or like I have a problem with judgment. So, lots of anxiety about what other people think, and it's constantly getting wrapped up in what I'm choosing for music, which is like really a bummer because it is so fun. But I will say I do think there are some like trip ups you can have when it comes to certain playlists. Like, and I think you guys might uh understand what I'm saying when like especially if you're a person that listens to musical theater, like if you have like a playlist jamming and then all of a sudden like Sweeney Todd comes on or something and it's just like this like old recording that's like mumbling da, 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 da. It's like I think if I think sometimes when things take like like that a playlist can fail, and I'm just like I just don't want the I want everything to kind of flow
So
into
you need a perfect playlist.
which is
The stakes are
impossible.
high. Yeah.
The stakes are
Or
high every time.
I know
here's
Jamie
the
has a lot of thoughts on the musical theater playlist, so I want
I
to.
I think the other option, because any musical song that you choose to throw into the mix is fine, even if it's an moment. What you need to do is get rid of the people that would pass judgment
So
during
curate
that
your
movement.
guest list more carefully
Yes.
than your playlist.
Mhm.
I love this angle,
I
Jamie.
think
Holy.
everything's on the table, and then if people can't get on board with that, then I think you need to look through your guest list if
Yeah.
your wedding right now, if your wedding playlist is causing you anxiety, and see who you
Oh,
need to just
We're
curb.
we're
Just
getting there. We're on the right track now. Here we
that's
go.
how you do
well,
it.
I
and I
like my
think that
friends, but I like my playlist more.
Yeah.
So
well, yeah, I think you're right. I think that you just have to just be like, I like it, and I don't think I'm gonna have like a moment on any of these lists. I think it's just a perceived moment. Um, but
Jamie and Casey both. We've talked a little bit about like I exercise. It's very important part of my day. My workout playlist is very important to me. But I listen to it so regularly that it's like constantly being updated. Songs that fall out of favor get removed. New songs come on.
mhm.
Maybe you can role play wedding day, play the playlist, and just see like throw a bunch of songs on there, take them off, put
I've
more
been
on,
I've been
walk down the
listening to the
aisle, and
music. I literally been like listening to the music to be like, how do I feel? How do I feel? And then I put a bunch, and that's how I was making the lists because I was like, oh, this makes me feel great. Oh, this is like totally the sounds that I think would be great at this point or that point. And yeah, I've been really trying to reframe it as like, is this cool or like, is this right to like, what does this feel? And that's helping make it. But I think you're right, Kevin. Now that I kind of have done, and I think this will go into more playlist making, but now that I've kind of made some of the decisions to start building them myself and be like, okay, it are really kind of listening to myself, not being like, well, anyone else do this, like just looking at the title, looking at the artist, you know, just actually listening to it and seeing how it feels.
when it comes down to it, you just follow Jamie's advice and get that jerk out of there who doesn't like, you know, uh, it takes two to make a thing go right, or any other songs.
Ban it.
Um, Anyone who doesn't like that song is definitely not worth your time. I mean, that's just in general, that should be the first. Do you like this? No?
Bye.
Burn the bridge.
I
That
just
that
like
was on my
open up my
roller.
vows. I open up my vows and it's just like it takes two to make a thing go right.
I
It
tried
takes
for
two
years to
to make
make
it
it.
out of sight.
I tried for years to make it go right with one, but it doesn't work. It takes two, and that's
It,
why I want you.
absolutely.
I
That's
listen to
beautiful.
DJ, I listen to DJ Rob Bass. That's why I take you, Nate.
That's what, because it
That's
takes two.
beautiful. That
And I
is
Yeah.
fold it up, and
beautiful.
everyone's crying, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
got
Casey,
him.
I think we've cracked it for Casey. Jamie, I have one more question for you. So the liked
Yeah.
list, you can just
Yes.
put that on shuffle and off you
Oh
go. And these
yeah.
are all just songs that are jams.
And it's, you know what, my liked list is so like it covers so many different genres that you just never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So, my daughter introduced me to K-pop maybe like 4 years ago. There's a lot of Korean songs on there, which I listen to and I sing along and I'm like, I don't know what they're saying. But this has a great beat and I love these harmonies. And then there's old school.
Yeah.
So I will throw in, Rob Bass or Jay-Z or whatever. Um, Once in a while, Gershwin will swing his way
Oh,
through.
hello, yes.
Oh yeah, like it'll be like, can I get a what? And then it goes right into like Rhapsody in Blue. Um, just
Yeah,
mixing
I
it
love
up.
it.
There's a
I
ton of Steely
identify.
Dan. Yeah, so that's the Jamie list. And the truth is, if you can't ride with that, get out of my car.
I like it. It's like Russian roulette. So I mean,
I actually have a song Russian Roulette on there
here
by
you go.
a group called Red Velvet. Look it up. It's great. They're great. There you go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You guys, I feel less anxiety because I'm changing the way I think about it. But it's really been a thing. Like, I think because music's always been so important to me, it just brought this other like weird layer of the judgment um along with it, which makes things not fun. It
Yeah.
makes the thing you
Aw.
love not fun. So I don't want that.
Get those new
Casey,
friends and
Casey,
put
can
some
I
salt and pepper right in with some Lin-Manuel Miranda. Put it all in
Oh,
there.
Okay.
also. Have you ever attended a wedding where you felt the need to judge based off of the music? Like you're
This
sitting
is
there,
where
you're ready to have a good time, and then you're like, "What is this? What?"
You could have stopped before music because all I do at weddings is judge. I feel
Well,
like.
that's it. I had to specify Kevin for you because I knew.
you're like, yeah. Oh,
Actually,
Just the
yes.
music,
I just judge the food and the music. That is
just
all.
the
That is
music.
all that I judge. But
Well, I don't know. Like part of me, I think I have my own like what I'm trying to get out of a wedding is like, yeah, enjoy some food, like have a lot of drinks and like just dance my butt off. So like if it's not dancey, I'm like, what is happening? Um,
Okay.
but I don't so I'm like, I think I have a lot high expectations on myself because I'm like, I think I have been a little bit judgy and I shouldn't be judgy.
Ah,
hmm.
so
I
it's
think
coming
that's
back around.
it's karma, baby. It's back. So now I'm like, okay, you little jerk. Time to put up or shut up.
I feel
But
like everyone's going to be sitting there with scorecards now because you've made it like so well known that you're
yeah.
concerned about the music. Where they're going to be like, "This song, I'm going to give a 5."
Oh my
She
god.
had options.
They're like,
Just
I went on the Knot and I ordered some some printed in theme scorecards to judge the wedding. It's just like
Lovely.
some graceful botanical scorecards.
my wife and I were relatively early in the getting married like
In your
wave
friends.
of our friend group. And so we had our wedding and then every wedding after that we're like, "Oh, look at what they did." And I think other people if they're later in the wave, they're going to
Mhm.
all their
Lots
friends'
of
weddings
pressure.
like, "I'm going to do those flower arrangements. Those are so nice," or "That band was great," or "That DJ was great," or whatever. And yeah, it's like I do feel like that's so much of wedding attending, especially when you're in that peer group that may be getting married or thinking about getting married at some
And I
point.
will say there is like delicious pain on both sides of that because if you're if you're on the early end and you're like, oh well, because there's a lot of regret feeling, right? If we're talking about it in an exaggerated way, in like the worst case scenario, you're like, oh, why didn't we do that? Oh. But then if you're on the other end where like you're waiting, um, you're like, well, that's amazing, but I can't copy them. Like, you know what I
Mm.
mean? Like then it's like
Mhm.
everything's getting like snatched away.
I
Yeah.
haven't been to a wedding that had salt and pepper soup play, so you can take that.
Is it salt and pepper? I don't think it is, right?
No,
Soup,
that's
Yeah,
them.
it is.
soup a
It
doop,
is. I was like,
salt and
wait,
pepper. Oh
you
yeah.
haven't been to one that hasn't had it?
No, you can take it.
That's all
It's
yours.
yours, all yours.
It's everyone's, but yeah, I'm gonna take it anyway.
Take
It's
it.
on there. It's on the list.
Big time. Well, we
I have
cracked it.
the
That's
receipts. I have the receipts to prove it. It's already on there.
amazing.
I
Amazing.
have the Google history. Anyway,
I had no idea the serendipity of our guest being the playlist master that
I
your
know.
worry
I
would
feel
be
great.
addressed.
I feel great. I feel taken care of.
You
Thank
need
you.
any other help, you let me know.
Okay.
I'll
We
put
will.
together a
And
mix, some suggestions, different moods.
I'm gonna have you review my list and be like, yes,
now we're
yes, yes.
talking. Now we're
I'm
talking.
excited.
And now what we need from our guest is your little worry,
Mhm.
Jamie, if you don't mind.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in with a different type of judgment. I'm concerned about ghost judgment. That is my worry. I am worried. No, this is legit. I am worried about judgment from the other side.
That ghosts will judge you.
Yeah, here's the thing, right? I believe that there is an afterlife somehow, somewhere. I have no clue what exactly that means, but I do believe that there are spirits around us, whatever. And I worry that the spirits that have chosen to, be a part of my existence judge me and judge me harshly. Now, part of this, I'm sure, comes from the tapes that play in my own head. But I feel it. My husband's parents both passed away before we got married, and
Mm.
I've always felt their presence with us. Like when my daughter was born, I really felt them around, and now I just feel like judgment, like I'm not doing enough. It's not good enough. There's the sense of I would have never done that, or I would have been a better parent, or I would have made a more delicious chocolate cake. Like I just feel judgment from
Ooh.
the other side.
So your in-laws are visiting from the afterlife.
Yeah, and I feel like it's judgy.
Yeah.
I don't. Um,
This is incredible. I
which
have
like what do you do to fix
You
that?
can't kill your husband to make him go talk to them.
No, because there would be, I think, more judgment.
Lots of
If I
judgment then.
murdered their son, I feel like that.
Well,
That's
that
not
was
gonna
going to be
go
my
over well.
suggestion, so I'll cross
Kevin,
that
just cross that
off
off
the
the list.
list.
I had
All
a
right, do
question while
not
Kevin is crossing off his other suggestions.
kill
Uh,
husband. No, okay.
but I'm
That's not the
wondering,
one.
so I very much am also in camp ghosts are real. And people can take that however they want. And I am curious about when this hits you because I am a big believer that it's very much a feeling. So like is this judgment hitting you like as these things are happening? Is it later? Is it different? I'm just curious about what does this feel like in your body and in your mind?
This is gonna make me sound a little, not sane, but
No, it's fine.
to me, it feels like I get a quiet moment to myself. I'm sitting down. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna read this book or I'm gonna journal, and then I get a voice
Mhm.
that's like, oh,
Mm.
I see you left dishes in the sink, or oh, I see you're choosing to read to yourself, but you didn't read to your kids tonight. That's
Wow.
that's nice. Like it's very snarky.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's something that I just carry with me. And then I'll mention it to my husband, and I'm like, I feel like your mom is judging me, and he's like, I don't know how to reply to that.
So he doesn't believe this is true.
No, he does. He just
Okay.
doesn't know how to reply. And
Yeah.
and this goes back to when my daughter was born. She used to laugh in her sleep as a
Mhm.
new baby. She would
They
laugh
don't know how to
every
laugh.
night. No. And she started talking around 4 months. And
That's
by the
so
time she was
soon.
1, yeah, no, it was crazy. I was like, where's the baby phase? Like she would call me Amy and Greg Egg. And then eventually it became Jamie and Greg. And I was like, how about mom? How about that?
Amy and Egg is so cute.
But she would tell us things about his father.
Yeah.
And they were things that she couldn't have known. Like, we didn't have the pictures up in the house at the time. We weren't talking about it. Like, she would say things like, he has a pipe. And none of us smoked. So we're like, where
Oh,
did you
I
even
know what
get
that
that word
means.
from? Or he loves this country so much. He has on a Navy shirt and he served in the Navy. And we're like,
Oh, wow.
what? So I do strongly believe that their presence has been here. I just for some reason feel judgment more from one than the other. And then, of course, the thought of that made me think of other people that have passed in my life that I love and honor and wonder if they're like, oh, you
There's just a chorus.
like it's this whole like, you didn't wash your hands that time, Jamie. Like, oh, yeah, really, you're not gonna shave? Like I just feel like this immense amount of outside
There's
judgment.
just an audience just nitpicking every move you make all day.
Once in a while, there's a
Man.
high five. Oh,
Oh,
you
good.
got those cupcakes done on time, but
Some affirmation. With
there
your in-laws, did can your husband share? Like, were they particularly judgmental or
they
like?
wouldn't have said it to my face.
Okay.
That's what I've gotten, that the judgment would not have been out loud. It would have been after, after I went home or after they went home, then they would have had the discussion. Um,
And
and
they're
I
always quotation marks at home now on the other side. So they're just like, we're having it now.
we're just going to
It's
talk
in your
about it
ear.
now. Yeah. Yeah. And I think they're probably in my mind watching over. He's the youngest of six. We've got their children, their grandchildren. So I
Mm.
do wonder a little bit if that's, me or if that's ghost judgment.
I have a question. It's probably, I mean, it sounds like ghost judgment to
Thank
me.
you. Okay.
Because if you're like reacting to it, I feel like I very much know when my inner voice is like, when I'm talking to me, like that I know that voice. If other things are talking or like I'm like something's not right here, I feel like it is different. I don't know. But I wonder, do you guys live in the home where they lived or do you live in the town? It's not.
No, no, no,
I'm
no,
just
no,
curious.
no.
Interesting.
Completely different house. And by the way, that ghost judgment goes into other things. Like when we look at houses, I'm like, we can't go in that one. That one's haunted.
Jamie, were they Southern or am I totally making that up? Or
No, they were
no?
not.
Oh no. Okay.
No, not at all. One was from Maine and one was from Connecticut.
Okay.
Mm.
I
Well,
mean,
New
Southern, if you
Englanders,
lived in Canada.
yeah, the New Englanders, the most passive aggressive, judgmental people that there are.
Mhm. Mhm.
So your
So
daughter
you
like has a powerful connection to something otherworldly and unknown. Do you,
When she was
outside of
little,
this, feel like you have that connection? Like, is this a generational kind of like connection to things that
my
are
connections
unexplainable?
have been in different ways. Like I've had I guess what some people would say is deja vu, but I've had
Yeah.
two different experiences where I've gone someplace and I could tell you everything about that place. I could tell you where things were located, even though it was the first time walking in.
Hmm.
There was like this sense of familiarity, of comfort, and like I had been there before.
Ooh, weird.
Um, but other than that, like,
It stops there.
yeah, like it hasn't been the, oh yeah, I sure know that there's grandma sitting in the corner judging me for not being able to knit, which she might just. I mean, she was a wonderful woman.
I find it so interesting the specificity of your ghost judgment because I was raised Catholic, and so I feel like I've had just this general
I mean, there's
like,
like
oh, it's
Jesus
just
judgment
it's just a
constantly.
mist of judgment that like follows you all the time, but it's very non-specific. It's just like every action is being watched and judged, and
And
every
compared to dying on the cross. It's like,
yes,
"Oh,
yes,
Casey, you didn't wash your hands that time? Well, Jesus died for your sins, so maybe
yeah.
you should wash your hands."
And,
Yeah.
and that on a very, like, serious theological, ethical, and moral level, but then Santa Claus on a very, like, a very different
Petty.
playful level, but, like, that dude he sees you when you're sleeping. Jesus Christ, man. And so, yeah, but I like or not like, it's interesting to me, the specificity of your, like, connection to that judgment
It's
'cause
like parenting and like connect like it's
ugh,
all very specific. They wanna connect with the grandkids. They want them to be taken care of, and it's like but it doesn't feel antagonistic, does it? It's just kind of super passive aggressive.
It's super passive aggressive, and
So
it's
funny.
definitely not the same as the voice in my head, and it's not the same as my upbringing. Like my mother was not passive aggressive. If she said it, it was aggressive. Wow. Like there was no questioning what she means. Like it just, hey, you know what? You suck at that. Oh, thank you. Okay, that's great, right? So, and I grew up Christian. I did not grow up Catholic. We were non-denominational. So we had Saint Nicholas, but we did not have Santa Claus. Like my
Oh,
grandmother would send us gifts from Santa, and my mom would say, "Thank your grandmother." You know, like so I didn't worry about his judgment. Right?
yeah.
He was just a pal. This is this is very it is very different and it feels different. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel guilty and in those moments. And sometimes like I'll just sit here and I'm like, okay. And then I get up and do whatever it is that I was, whatever the voice was saying, like, all right, I'll go wash those dishes or I'll
So
go
their judgment, it's not.
wash the laundry.
It's more kind of a burden and not necessarily overly unfair.
No, it's completely fair. There are
Oh yeah.
moments
They're
that
right.
like
Okay. You're right.
God
no,
damn
they're
sensible
completely
ghost
fair.
judgment.
Yeah,
Oh.
no, completely fair. But
Okay.
the funny thing is that that really has made me think about, well, wait a minute. Who else is around me and what else am I not doing to appease people that are like, I loved you and look at the
Mm.
disappointment you've become.
And that's where it gets unwieldy. Yeah.
Yeah. But right now this is the strongest sense that I have, right? And I'm
Mm.
getting a little bit of judgment right now just for sharing it. I can hear it.
Well,
Just
I'm
Say it
gonna.
loud. Say it into the mic, y'all.
I know, right?
Say-
That would be amazing and scary and I would
Could you
cry all
imagine?
in one.
Oh my god, I would poop my pants.
Stop sharing family secrets. Like that would be really. So that's my, yeah, worried a little bit about ghost judgment.
I love it, and I think it's it's a little worry, and it maybe is something that's like worth feeling a little worried about.
A little bit. It's also, I mean, it encourages me to get up and do things too. I mean,
Yeah.
there are times when I'm like, oh, I'm tired. And then, it's like, no, just, they're not going to be babies forever. Go hug them. They're not going to,
Oh,
you're not going to have time tomorrow. Go get it done. It's a positive push, but it's definitely passive aggressive.
so funny.
I
That's
also want to
amazing.
mention that this episode is brought to you by Mission Impossible 6 Ghost Judgment, coming to theaters, starring Tom Cruise, the newest
Yeah.
adventure of Ethan Hunt. Ghost
Nice.
Judgment. If we ever do a team, the three of us, it's got to be called Ghost Judgment. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I'm game.
I'm
And the truth
down.
is, it would be the four of us.
so good. Well, thank you, Jamie. That's amazing and very thought provoking and very spine tingling little worry as
My
well.
spine is fully tingled.
So I am now going to offer my big worry. We're going to shift into a little bit more weighty big worries, but still, we're not going to bring ourselves down too far. But I do want to share something that I thought of a little while ago. My daughter, when she wakes up in the morning, will come down, and whether the stories are real or not, she will create and share like these amazingly elaborate dreams that she had, um, and like wonderful images and stories and things that she's experienced in her dreams. And I cannot remember recalling a single dream that I've ever
Hmm.
had. I will sometimes wake up with kind of like an impression of an image or some vague kind of like half recollection of some tiny moment, but I do not dream in like a narrative form, which I've heard a lot of people talk about, or, they'll have vivid dreams or even lucid dreams at the far end of the spectrum. But I'm worried that I have never remembered a dream from, during sleep. And, not so much from a physical sense. I sleep well. I wake rested. I feel good through my day. So I'm not worried about my sleep in that like biological regard. But more just maybe I don't know, kind of the more metaphorical and figurative impression of like, I have never remembered a dream. And
Wow.
that's it. Not that's it, but that's like, yeah,
And that's
that's
it.
the crux
This
of
was
my worry.
fun.
Moving
Quick
on to our last
podcast
segment.
end. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. My wife dreams pretty regularly and remembers her dreams, and my kids seem to, but I never do.
Kevin, how will you ward off danger if you don't know it's coming?
That's a great question,
I'm
and it's a huge worry
concerned.
for a dad who wants to be a protector. I
I'm
don't know.
And
concerned.
Kevin, I mean, you've always said that you're like, I don't worry that much. And I think it's interesting. Like your brain is like gives you breaks sometimes. I mean, like dreams are a great place to worry. Um, I there's it is anxiety stage. It's like, you know,
Is that what
I've
you dream of? Your dreams are filled with,
sometimes
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
have weird subconscious like things happening where it's like depending on, what I'm watching or who I'm talking to. Sometimes people will make like random appearances and I'm like, why the hell are they in this dream? I've had a couple of really interesting dreams. I grew up in Pennsylvania for half my life and then moved to Connecticut for the second half of like my young adult life, and here we still are. But I would have dreams where I was in my old house, or like I would there was lots of like cross pollination of like people who are from one place being in other places. I one time had a dream, and that I walked, sorry, talking about your dreams is sometimes it can feel kind of boring, but this is an interesting thing that happened is that I I walked into like a field near my house and there was like this like old metal like lawn furniture, like white, like intricate look, you know what I'm talking about, like that old like lawn furniture thing. And I remember in my dream I walked by and I put a can of Coke on the table, and then like the dream continued, and then like years later I had a dream where I walked up to that same table and that freaking can of Coke was still on that table, and I freaked out. It was so bizarre. And there and so I have this scope of like dreams where I like remember, I have like an archival memory of some of them, and I'll remember them from the beginning to end. And then there's some dreams that I'm like, if I like wake up and then go back to sleep, like those dreams are really vivid because it's like that time. But I don't know, I've never just like not remembered a dream. If I've never, well, I've always remembered dreams, so I don't even know why you wouldn't be doing it.
And you'll regularly have dreams and recall them. So like in a
Yeah.
week, you'll have a few days. Yeah. What about you, Jamie?
I'm a vivid dreamer. I
Uh,
can taste, I can feel. Um, I'm in a house with someone just like you, Kevin, who rarely, if ever, dreams. And so I'll wake up upset and he's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Oh, I had this dream." And I'm really pushed to the edge by it. And I can explain the whole thing. And he's like, "I have no clue what that's like."
hmm.
Like this week I had a dream. Oddly
So
enough, I
you were,
did wake up and I was upset.
yeah.
But I had a dream that I had my boys in the back seat of a car, and the car was Kit from Knight Rider. You needed to know that. And I decided to go to the post office, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just going to leave the boys in the car and go inside," which I would never do. And then one of them was like, "Well, I want to go in," and I'm like, "Okay." And then the other one decided to come in. I'm like, "Lock the car," but nobody locked the car. And we
Kit
went
can
into
lock
the post
itself.
office, but he didn't,
Oh,
because we went into the post office, and when I came out, I not only had my kids, I had four other kids.
sure.
And Kit was gone. And I thought, well, I probably got towed because I parked in front of the post office. And we were like walking, trying to find a police officer to figure out where the car was. And the other four kids went missing. And then I went home
Hmm.
and I went to sleep. And one of the parents called me, and I woke up right after the parent called me, and I was like, I have to go back to sleep. I have to find the kids. I have to find the kids. And it
Yeah.
was this like weird, I knew it was a dream, but it was so connected to my reality that it took me a full day to get out of the funk of losing somebody else's children and then
Yeah.
going home to take a nap. Like,
Yeah,
Also,
remembering
yeah.
dreams can sometimes mean remembering the emotions that were attached to it, and whether you invited them or not, and whether they're legitimately tied to whatever anxiety or feelings that you're actually feeling in your life. It's kind of frustrating when they get a hold of your brain and they get a hold of your heart and they're like, "You feel like this." And I'm like, "But what? I didn't do anything
yeah.
to deserve this."
I'm
Kevin, do you
envious
ever
of
just
both.
like wake up with like a feeling like, oh, I'm waking up and I'm sad, or I'm waking up and I'm
Yeah,
angry?
have you
Like,
woke up with a feeling?
No, I
It's so
close my
weird.
eyes, I sleep like a dead person, and then I wake up. That's my experience of sleep. Like, and I, according to my wife, I am like absolutely like just dead to the world, and I cannot be moved. I cannot, and so like that's again, that's my experience of rest, and I do wake like feeling great and feeling revitalized, but no recollection of a dream. And so to hear you both talk about having, even like physical manifestations of dreams and like being able to kind of like look at and control and live within this world, I'm like, that sounds pretty sweet. Like that sounds really fun, first of all. Unless it
I envy the ability to just start freaking carte blanche and be like, "Hello, day. I
yeah.
am starting without any weird. I have to unpack whatever I just fucking dreamed up about my
yeah.
That's
past."
true. That's
you
true.
know?
Yeah. I think I would like to have it at some I think that's, maybe that is what I'm worried about. This is a weird thing to say, but like, I think I have a decent imagination and decent creativity. I'm like, why doesn't that real world creativity manifest in my dreams where I could do some really cool shit or like, or even experience some heavier or more profound type of moments in sleep. Like, I don't know. I think
Yeah,
I'd like that, but I
it's
don't. If
interesting.
I'm having it, I don't recall it. Which again, I'm not. We're not neuroscientists here, so I don't know the explanation. There may be one, but more just. Yeah, I wish I could.
Oh, Kevin.
Oh, Kevin.
I mean, I don't even know what that would be like, because it's true. I wake up and I'm trying to work my way through whatever it was that I dreamt the night before jumping
Mm,
into my day.
hmm, hmm.
Um,
Do you have dreams that are just like ecstatic and like over, filled with joy and just like bananas cuckoo fun, or
I don't
no.
think I have anything that's
no?
like bananas cuckoo. I don't think I have anything
Absolutely
that's
not.
like bananas cuckoo fun. I think sometimes I'll be like, "Ooh, this dream's fun. Like,
Yeah.
this is kind of interesting, cool." But there's never anything that's like, uh, "Wow!" Like I'm not waking up yet. Like it's yeah, I really do feel like I think that and this is in no way, shape, or form me placing any sort of like, and I'm summing you up, Kevin. But like, if you really do
Please
feel
do.
like don't feel a lot of anxiety very often, I feel like that makes sense that you would go to sleep and your brain wouldn't be kind of like, kind of winding down into a story of a feeling of a thing and then waking up and kind of
Mm.
getting back out of it. I really do feel like there is a sort of it's a winding out and a winding in. But if you truly I mean, when I'm tired enough, you know, if I've just spent my whole day like flat out and I'm too tired to be worried about anything, I probably don't dream too much or I'm not really,
Mm.
you know, coming up out of that dream with a lot of anxiety.
It's really good to talk to two smart and thoughtful adults because the remain or the rest of my conversations about dreams are with my 8.5-year-old daughter. So maybe my expectations are unfairly built by this girl who will tell me these dreams of just like,
I mean, she's
extraordinary
got an
things.
active
Yeah.
brain. I mean, like, kids have, like, endless energy, right? Like, I think they
Yes.
could even go flat out, and then their brain's just like, "We gotta keep, go." I'm sure that's what's going on, and the fact that they have lovely dreams means that they're probably having a really not that I think that people are experiencing night terrors or anything like that, but that's like a brain chemistry thing, right? Like, I that's not something that's, like, nurture related, that's something that's going on, potentially, right?
Yeah.
So that's good that they are feeling happy in their dreams. That's so cute.
Now I
Yeah.
feel like I'm missing out because I'm not having dreams of joy and excitement. Like I never have the, oh my gosh, it's me and Lin Manuel Miranda, and we're getting our Tonys together. Like it's never something like that. It's usually like, oh, I have to go to school, and the school is connected to a mall, which is also connected to a hospital. And while I'm there,
And you can't get
and,
out of
and
any of them?
No,
Yeah.
and by the way, that is actually a common theme. Like, I never have dreams with one. The post office was connected to 2 other buildings. It's never just one. And rarely in my dreams do people present the way they do in real life. So I'll have a
Mhm.
dream, and let's say Kevin is in my dream, you won't look like you.
Hmm.
You'll
Oh,
look like
interesting.
somebody else, and I'll wake up knowing that I dreamt about you, which is all I
That's
dream
really
about,
interesting.
Kevin.
I just want one dream about myself where I have a long, luxurious head of hair.
That's your
Speak it
like,
into.
manifesting, yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to. Well, thank you guys for helping kind of unpack a little bit of that worry. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with me. It's a piece that's missing.
Mm.
That yeah, I don't know if that will
Wait,
change, but it's great to hear your thoughts on it.
I don't wanna extend this too far, but I'm curious, Kevin, do you daydream?
Yeah, I think vividly. I think like oh yeah. Yeah, and even like as part of athletics, I visualize all the time.
Mm,
As part of like training, and I think for many other fields, not just athletics, but in athletics it is critical part of preparation to visualize competition, to visualize training, to visualize different training modalities that you might be new to you and scenarios like you do
right,
that
you
all
can't see
the time.
your own body, you have to be able to be like,
Yeah,
"Imagine my arms doing the right thing," and
yeah,
putting a physical thing into your body, in your mind. Maybe your brain's tired from daydreaming, and it's like, "We don't
possibly.
do night dreaming."
Yeah, yeah, that is true. And I love, and this is part of, I mean, I love this show and, doing these with you, Casey, and the guests that we get to have on, because I loved living in a world pre-pandemic where like I would get to do shows so regularly and like get to be with creative people so regularly where you can just essentially like is a improv scene anything more than like a
Vis
structured dream on
Collective
Yeah.
stage?
visioning, yeah.
Like
Mhm.
you're just creating this thing or a bit in the green room of like that is some weird fun run that's essentially just like a dream in a different form. So I don't know,
I
maybe
mean,
maybe that is it.
describing improv shows, people are like, "Is this a dream you're talking about?" And it's like, "No, no, it's real, but it was fake, so, yeah, it's a dream."
It's me
Anyway.
and my friends on stage making stuff up.
Too funny.
Oh, that's an interesting point. I never considered that, Casey, of like what
I
in your waking life do you do with I don't know if it is that same part of the brain, but yeah, I live in a fantasy world so much when I'm awake. Yeah, for sure. Holy cow, Casey. You really cracked that nut right there. Whoa.
Nice job. So, Kevin, it sounds like you need one, some anxiety, and two,
Yeah.
dumb it down during the day, right? Shut that down, and you'll have a dream.
Yep. I'll pick
Yes!
up some of that anxiety and just shut it down during the day.
There you go.
God, what a
Yeah.
productive show this has been. Amazing.
That was fascinating. Alright, now we can move on.
And Casey, we're gonna move on with Jamie
Yes.
sharing our final worry of the night, your big worry.
My big worry is that I've never taken the big risk, like the hey, this has no rhyme or reason. It's just something I want to do. Big risk.
Mm,
And I feel like I need to. Like, what is my story going to be? I have friends that picked up everything and moved out of the country on a whim. I have friends that decided that they were going to backpack across Europe or, bike
Mm,
across the country. And even though I have, a marriage and bills and 3 kids, it's never going to get any easier. And I feel like it's time,
mm.
right? To have like the big, I don't know, the big leap. So my worry is that one, I don't know what that big leap is supposed to be. And two, that if I don't take it, that I'm not fulfilling part of my purpose.
Mm.
I love
Do you
this.
I don't wanna talk say your thoughts, Kevin. I don't wanna
I
interrupt.
I love the examples that you gave,
Yeah.
Jamie, because they're life risks of like lifestyle, life, the life you're leading and an abrupt turn in those. I've never done anything risky in that regard. Although, yeah, I mean, like some when I was young, but like physical risk, I'm not a jackass like adrenaline junkie, but I've done so many questionable like physical things where I put my body, and I've injured myself many times. Um, but I've never done the big like life risk, and it's terrifying at a certain level. Um, but I feel like there's also a lot of in the ether, like people saying, pursue your passion, take the risk. Like there's a lot that is driving people towards that end. But I'm with you. I've never taken the plunge on selling my house and buying a boat or anything like that. Raising my kids in the Caribbean and teaching them school above a coral reef.
Now that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I think you found it. To
I'm
take
done.
How,
Riz,
how
end the
close have
podcast.
how close have you come, Jamie? Like, have you stepped to the edge and backed away a couple times, or have
Oh
you?
my gosh, no, I am the biggest chicken. I mean, down to
Yeah.
like, you know how everyone is now interested in like looking at houses online, right? So Zillow is the destination date day as we're all stuck inside, right? Like my husband and I will look at houses that we definitely cannot afford. We're like, "Oh, let's look at that $58 million house." And we're looking through the house and these are my comments. "Oh, yeah, one of the kids would fall off of that." Or,
You're like
"Oh,
living very realistically through this like completely
right." So
made
even though
up.
I have the ability to dream what I mean, if I want, I can have like a $200 million house in the land of Zillow. I'm not buying it. And I'm still just like, that French country sink sticks out just enough that I'm going to catch my hip every time I walk by it. Like, I just want to have like a risk. Like, oh, you know what? I need to, I don't know. I'm going to go out and audition for Dead Body number 3 in Law and Order or something. Like, I just feel like I've never taken the big risk. Everything has been super calculated. And I want to have at least one.
Mm.
At least once. And by the way, the choices are bring the family with me or abandon them. And then that would be the big risk, right?
It could be something, yeah, the thing is small, but the risk is abandoning your family for,
I'm
for
gonna
fill
go
in the
start a
blank.
marshmallow farm, but I'm leaving the kids. Like something.
It's so funny. Well, first of all, I'm uh on team of risk averse. I I feel like a lot of I feel like these things you're describing, they kind of require a huge change that causes some discomfort. Like,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? And not that I feel like I'm someone who's like, I want to be comfortable, but I think that the fear of the discomfort leading to like, what's the word?
Failure?
Failure? Yeah. Uh, um, when it's like you can't actually fail at taking a risk, you just make another choice. And that's something that I just don't think I've thought about. Like a dumb example is I was in a play in college and the director asked me to cut my hair short for the play. And I said no. And I'm like, why? Like, why did I say no? Like, why didn't I just like take the opportunity to do something that to me at the time felt completely insane, but I like couldn't get past my own anxiety of like what that risk could mean. Um and it just felt so dumb and like the looking back on it now I'm like, "Oh." And I wish I would have just done it cuz that's like a fun story. Like that one time in college when my hair was like a boy haircut, it was so short and it was like cuz I was relaxed enough to just do something wild and I do. Yeah, I totally
Yeah.
understand what you're saying.
And that is a period when you are encouraged to take those kind of risks and, leap before you look. Working with college kids for 20 years now, it's interesting when you see a junior or a senior trying to calculate what they're going to go do because
Yeah.
they're at this natural inflection point where the world is open to them in many regards of like, where do you want to live? What do you want to pursue? What kind of house do you want to live in or apartment? But Jamie, now you and I, we've been at a stage in life for the past 14 or 10 years where it's like there's not a real natural inflection point for change. It's like you start to have a family and kids and houses and careers, and you're like, well, maybe there could be a career shift or a big career risk. But I don't know. They get harder and harder to make because there's less natural off ramp to
Right.
something else.
Right. And I, Casey, second year not jumping in college. I mean, there were opportunities that came, and I was like, I'm working to pay for school. I can't go start something now, or I want to be close to home. I can't go do it now. So I just feel like there is something out there right now that I have yet to figure out what it is. And maybe I need to listen to some of my ghost judgment to figure out where it, that's going to take me. But that needs to happen. I just feel like I'm going to get to, a certain age where I look back and say, you had another opportunity and you didn't take it. So I would like to do some sort of big risk, whether I succeed or not, that I can look back and say, I did it.
I support this. The way you described this, like, I almost started imagining like parallel universes where like you start like imagining like not necessarily like what could have been if I did that, but just imagining yourself like existing and being fine in the parallel universe where like you took the risk and maybe it's not like it worked out, but like you can just see yourself like I literally just for a second was just like imagining myself with short hair like sitting in the building where I lived in college and I would have been fucking fine. Um
Well, you'd be a bank robber now.
right.
Because if you had cut your hair in
I would have gone
college,
bad. I would have gone fall baddie.
cut it
That's the
short,
clear path.
downhill, right to bank robbery.
My
Straight.
parallel world is Kerry Washington.
There you go.
We were born on the exact same day. And
No.
no, seriously.
In
And
the
I
exact
watch her in
same room.
commercials in the exact same room from the exact same mother. And I look at her and I think, why did she keep you and let me know? But every time I see her, I think to myself, like, she made different choices. She made the riskier choices. And I wonder, like, okay, well, what's my path now? I don't want it to be safe the entire time. I want to have some choices that somebody's like, man, that was a dumb choice. But look at where you are for it with now 2 broken legs, not just one.
I'm curious if
But you
you
did it.
I'm curious if you feel this too, Jamie. There's a part of me that wants to like continue to have wings and like explore and do, and keep going. There's also a part of me that like really likes being settled.
Oh, yeah.
Like we live in a neighborhood and a town and a place, and like I really like where I am, and that's a privilege. So I don't know. I don't say that lightly. I realize how lucky we are to have that. But that like also kind of diminishes my urge to like go do something wild or do something crazy because I really feel content like with kind of where I am settling. And that usually has such a negative connotation to it. But I'm like, no, I like my
Roots are
roots.
beautiful.
Yeah, I like this nest and I like these roots.
See,
I
I
was
feel like I like my brood, right? I love my
mm,
family, and I'm willing to now take them along for the ride.
Oh yeah.
mhm.
Get out. Get in
And mind you,
kit and get the hell out of there.
it's going to be a tight fit. He only
Well,
had room for 2, but we're
it's
going to
not a
make it
very practical
happen.
car, you're right.
Yeah,
It's very smart, though.
I have like you and the fam and RV across the country like in my mind. Like I there must be some sort of like there are risks that you can take that there would be no failure, no success. That's just like a choice and it happens and the success is just that it happened. Um and I I hope that you do it. And it sounds like you've got I don't even think you'd be thinking about this if you didn't think that you had a family that would support do making the change or at least consider it. Because I feel like people who really don't believe things to be true or possible actually speak them out loud unless they think that somebody wants to hear them. So I think that it's very possible. Um, and and I think I just hope that all of us the world can, maybe start removing the idea of risk with disassociating risk with failure, because in improv we get the direct pleasure of getting to do full risk, knowing that full well that we could fail and many times do, but when it comes down to it there's no consequences, like, because we don't assign consequences to the failure, right? So um I think that you can totally do it. This is we've talked about this a little bit about like success, finding satisfaction, talking about risk, but I think that yours is a little different, and I feel um excited that you're on the front end, or that you're on the front end of being able to make it happen, as opposed to looking back and being like, why didn't I take a risk? Like, you still have, like, I like that you are like, it's time. Like, I'm feeling it, that it's time. And that's cool.
It's definitely time, and the way that I feel about it, one of two things will happen. I'll take the risk, and it'll be something amazing that I come back to you guys, and I'm like, put me back on so we can talk about this risk that I took. Or you'll see me on the news, and you'll say, "Wow, Jamie, that was not the risk to take."
Bank
It's gonna be
robbery.
one of the two.
It's just
Well,
me with short hair and JB, and we've got guns, and we're just like,
once again, I'm not moving anywhere very quickly right now. I'm
yeah.
still hobbling with my broken leg. So if you wait a couple of weeks, I'll rob a bank with you. Sure.
All right. All right. Let this be, this podcast is brought to you by Bank Robbery.
Yep.
It's funded by it'll be back funded by the funds that we steal in the future.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's
It's fine.
retroactively funded and brought to you by bank robbery. It happened when Jamie takes her risk and Casey cuts her hair.
Oh my gosh.
Finally.
Well, taking the risk is it's scary. Obama wrote, I think it's in his first book, that one of the beautiful things about America is that its ability is its allowance to is that it allows people to constantly reinvent themselves. And that's a pretty, I don't know, I've thought about that often, of like, yeah, you can reinvent yourself. I haven't chosen that path, but there is space for people to, explore and take those risks. So let the amazing Barack Obama, just quoting Barack Obama, what a moron I am.
Oh no,
That was stupid.
Kevin, the audacity of you
Of
quoting.
hope.
He's like right here.
Yeah.
We're good. We're good with Obama. You can
Just,
float away.
yeah, that idea that you can constantly reinvent yourself, and think of his reinventions. Like, what an amazing, amazing path, of like constant reinvention. At any rate, we're going to see you on the news, no doubt, in some context, Jamie. But thank you for sharing both of your worries with us tonight.
This
Casey.
was so fun.
Oh, that was awfully fun. We're going to move on to our final segment of Recommend Something Good.
Yes.
Casey, do you want to lead us off, or
I can absolutely lead us off, because here's what I have for you, Kevin. So I'm gonna walk it back. So right now I'm reading a book, which I'm not going to recommend to you. This book is a book called.
Book, do not recommend. Let me be clear. I do not recommend this book. Sorry, but
it's related. So there's this fabulous woman named Sandra Goldmark. She is a professor of theater at Barnard, and I know of her because she's an alumni of Yale School of Drama, where I do my job. And she is also a climate justice person. Like, she's this is not clear, but she's working towards making the earth more livable in 5 years or whatever the
and
world.
You do recommend that.
And what I'm going to recommend,
Livable earth.
saving the
So not the livable, no.
So
I do not recommend the book still, but I do recommend a livable
I do
earth.
recommend her book, but because I've already asked you to read a book once, I'm going to recommend you just like Google her New York Times article, which talks about her work about fixing things and how changing the way we engage with our stuff helps us become more environmentally conscious. And she created this like pop-up called Fix It in New York, where her and like theater makers were like, so like props people and stuff, people who are naturally doing all like the fixing things and mending backstage, or like fixing people's stuff. and it's really interesting. So yeah, look up Sandra Goldmark, New York Times,
NYT.
and read her article. And then if you're hooked, then
And
I
read the
will
book.
recommend the book.
Well, it sounds just in your description, it sounds thematically like there are some tie-ins to How to Do Nothing.
Absolutely.
Awesome, which I love. I'm nearly finished. I honestly have about 25 or 30 pages left in that book, and I do love that recommendation that you made. And so Sandra Goldmark, I will look that up post haste. That is awesome.
Quickly. What do you
Um,
have to tell me about?
well, anybody who knows me, this recommendation is going to come as no surprise that tonight I'm going to recommend tulips. Going to recommend some tulips to everybody. So Elizabeth Park, which is in, kind of right near where Casey and I live, Casey in Hartford and me in West Hartford.
We're just
Eliz-
hugging Elizabeth Park. Me and Kevin on both
we
sides. We're just
are.
like,
We actually absolutely are. They're known for their roses, and there's a world class, famous, internationally known rose garden. But their first, like, brilliant and extraordinary flower display are the tulips. So they're in the greenhouses now,
oh,
and I was up there with my kids last 2 weekends ago. Sorry. And so all of the tulips are in the greenhouses. They're going to go in the ground, and right around Mother's Day. So about 2.5 weeks
Aw.
from now, they are brilliant at their peak
oh,
right around Mother's Day. So go to the Tulip annual garden in Elizabeth Park. They change the display every year. Have you been there, Casey, and seen this before? The
I
Tulip
have,
garden? Yeah. Oh,
but
awesome.
not but I haven't been clocking it as like an active like just like thing that they're doing. So I will look forward to being more mindful about being like this is something they designed and this is
Yeah.
like this time of year thing.
The layout is very precise. They have a map of all of the varietals of tulips. It's extraordinary and like a treasure. Honestly, it's amazing. And so the tulips, what they say is tulips at Mother's Day, roses at Father's Day. So
Yes, because
Aw.
that's the climate. And
yeah,
I was just thinking about how striking red tulips are with daffodils. Because like I've been like walking around the neighborhood and it's just like obviously like pink tulips, you're cute too, but like red tulips, mm, will you
but
marry
hey,
me?
take a
Like
back seat, pink tulips. You're riding in the back of Kit. Red tulip, you're up front. Let's
yeah,
go.
red tulip, super cute, looking great.
Oh, I love it.
But the great recommendation. I look forward to it. And
And Elizabeth Park just in general. I mean, it is
please go,
a
people. Keep
spectacular.
going if you're not there already.
Yeah, yeah, seriously.
That's
Seriously.
where we shot our engagement photos, was with the tulips at Elizabeth Park.
Couldn't find a
So
better
beautiful.
amazing.
So,
Still
Amazing.
a favorite.
Jamie, before we go, we wanted to give you some space to recommend something good or plug something or just like give us final thought. The space is yours.
Awesome. I was going to recommend a book, but I felt so much judgment from Casey on this one that I'm not going to anymore. If anything, I'm going to recommend for everyone out here to take an hour to yourself.
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like this is the one thing that we're not doing enough of. And by an hour to yourself, I mean like shut down, get offline, shut everything down, get out of your house, go for the walk, put your music on, play your curated playlist,
Hmm.
and just take 2 seconds to be inside of your own head. Kevin, for you, don't go in your head because you're saving up for a dream,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
don't, but everybody else, 1 hour to yourself because that's what I plan on doing after this to think about my big risk.
Oh, I
Fantastic.
love it. Thank
I love
you.
it when the guest wraps up our show for us, Casey.
Tied it in a bow.
Oh, Jamie brings it. We knew she would. Amazing. The great Jamie Guite. Thank you so much for being our guest on Little Worry, Big Worry. Casey, we'll be back with another episode next week.
We will. All right, you guys. See ya. Thanks, audience.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.